What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be ceramic coating the Toyota Supra. If you haven't seen my previous videos on ceramic coating the Lexus GSF, this is going to be a fairly similar process, except for that this car is brand new and it has a couple different challenges that we're going to have to face and that we'll go over during the video. So with that, we're just going to jump right into this video. So the first step of any ceramic coating is to wash the car. As you can see, that's what I'm doing here. This washing process is going to be just like my standard washing process, except for we're going to choose to use a car shampoo that is designed to strip any residual waxes or sealants. We do this because we want the paint to be completely clean before we start any polishing. Now that we've finished up the wash, there's still one last step to prepping the paint for polishing, and that's going to be the clay bar process. Now you hear this term getting thrown around a lot, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's using a clay bar on the paint. The clay bar is designed to pull up any embedded contaminants in the clear coat that you wouldn't be able to pull up with just a standard wash. However, this clay bar is somewhat aggressive, so you're going to want to polish after using a clay bar. It's not ideal to clay bar a car and then not polish because there is a significant chance that you're going to put at least some level of marring into the paint. It's not significant, but it's still enough for me to want to polish after I clay bar a car. So here's the clay bar after doing a few different passes. You can see there's some orange tinge to it, a little bit of darkness, and then this is a cleaner side, so it's more white. So that color that you see in there is all the contaminants that were still in the paint even after we did a wash with a stripping shampoo. Alright, so this Supra is somewhat unique in that there's some weird stuff going on this rear quarter panel. There, during the shipping process, is a thin white vinyl that they'll apply to these areas of the car in order to avoid water spots and things like that. However, when they pulled this white vinyl off the car, they failed to remove some of the residue that was left over, and this left the paint feeling very rough and giving it kind of a dull finish right here. So as you can probably see, there's a hard line in the paint, and you could feel a texture difference between the two sides, the one with the vinyl and the one without. This is actually a super easy fix. We're just going to go ahead and clay bar the area just like we did the hood, and that should solve this texture difference. And then some polishing is going to be necessary to kind of blend it all out and make sure it looks as it should. Alright, so check this out. This clay bar was brand new and now it's filthy. This is typical of vinyl. It's going to leave kind of a sticky residue on the paint, and you're going to have to clay bar it to get it off. This is just one example of why brand new cars aren't actually brand new and will still have prep work necessary before ceramic coating them. Here's another area. I'm not sure if this was tar or a light scratch or exactly what it was, but it wouldn't come out from a typical wash. And so what I'm going to do is try to clay bar it off, and you can see it kind of helps the process. It makes it a little bit better. Once we polish, it should be completely out though. Alright, so the clay bar process is finished. This could go really quick or really slow, just depending upon the amount of detail that you want to put into it. This car took a little over an hour just to do the clay barring process, but the preparation is key when trying to get good results polishing. Alright, and the next step of the polishing preparation stage is to tape off any of this black plastic trim or areas you don't want to be polished. If you accidentally polish this black plastic trim, you will end up scuffing it and permanently damaging it. So it is really important to make sure it's properly taped off, so that way you don't have any problems from polishing. And finally, we're going to tape up any of the other areas that we don't want polish residue to get into. Cleaning polish residue out of badging is very difficult, and you'll end up with this gross white finish inside that you won't be able to fully clean. So once we finish taping everything up, I'm going to wipe the car down with Gtechniq panel wipe. This is designed to strip any of the leftover residual waxes or sealants on the car so that we can get a true sense of the condition of the paint. At this point, I'm going to turn off the overhead lights and start to inspect the paint with my spotlight. I'm doing this so I can take note of any areas that are going to need a little extra attention. Deeper scratches are going to require a more aggressive polishing method, and in order to get these scratches out, I'm going to need to use this more aggressive polishing method. So I've set the camera up so you can see the paint how I can see the paint right now, and you can see that there are scratches and poor finish quality in this section of the car, and this is actually unfortunately going to be consistent throughout the entire car. There's a lot of areas with weird paint finish defects. All of this is fairly typical, however, and it's nothing that we can't handle. The first issue I found was right here where these two panels meet each other. You can see there's some white staining going on. This is likely from water spots while the car was sitting at port, so this is something we're going to need to address. The second is this gloss black trim. This is super scratched up, very, very, very typical, so we'll have to polish this out as well. And the third issue still has my mind spinning to this day. This is on the driver's side door on a lower section. And as you can see, it is so freaking scratched up. It was insane to see this on a brand new car. Now, I'm not entirely sure what happened. I've never seen something this bad before, but this was absolutely gnarly. You can see just how deep these scratches were. And finally, there's this area here. Now this is where the back windshield meets the trunk, and I believe during the shipping process when it sat at port there was some water that pooled up in here and this created hard water spots. So when I went to the dealership to pick up the car, there was somebody scrubbing at it with a bath towel. Now this is way too aggressive to be trying to clean paint with, and as a result there are these deep scratches in the paint that are going to need extra attention when getting polished out. So because this trunk area is where the worst of the scratches are, this is where I'm going to try my test spot, just so I know that this polishing technique will be good for removing all the scratches on the entire car. So I'm going to start off with a yellow polishing pad. I do not think this is going to be aggressive enough, but I figure it's worth a shot. We always want to start light and work our way up in aggressiveness, just so that we're not doing anything more than what the paint needs. So this finishing polish does leave a bit of filling residue after you finish polishing, so I'm going to wipe it down with Gtechniq panel wipe in order to get a true sense of the condition of the paint. Alright, so the long story short, that yellow pad and polish combination is just not enough to clean this paint up the way I want it to be. There are far too many swirls and scratches in the paint, and it's fairly hard, meaning we're going to need to use a little bit more aggressive polishing procedure. So as you can see, I'm using a microfiber cutting disc along with a compound in order to remove some of these deeper swirls. Now, while this procedure is great for removing these deeper scratches and swirls in the paint, it's still too aggressive to finish down the way we want to, so we're going to have to use a two-stage paint correction process on this car. First stage is going to be compound with a microfiber cutting pad, as you can see here, and the next will be coming back at it with that yellow pad and finishing polish in order to refine the paint down to a perfect shine. Compounding paint is similar to polishing, however, you are going to have to be a little bit more aggressive. You're going to have to apply a little bit more pressure, and you're going to have to work slower in order to remove these deep scratches. So while I'm compounding this paint, I want to talk about something that's a little bit difficult for me to communicate with some customers. Now this car is brand new. However, we are having to use a somewhat aggressive polishing procedure on it. And because of this, it's not uncommon for a customer to question why. Now this is actually fairly simple to explain. Even though your car is brand new, it has gone through multiple hands. It has come out of the factory, it has been through shipping, where multiple people have been in and out of your car, where things have brushed up against your car, and then finally it gets to the dealership, where a 15-year-old, 16-year-old kid is paid minimum wage to wash your car with an aggressive brush. All of these things will end up causing swirls and scratches in the paint that will need to be polished out by somebody who knows what they're doing. Now let's say the dealership didn't wash your car and through transportation, somehow miraculously there were no scratches added to the car. Now this, in theory, sounds great. However, even from the factory, there will still be blemishes in your clear coat. As you can see, there's a dull spot on the car. Now this occurs when there's a dust nib during the painting process. This dust nib will cause a bump or peak in the paint that is then sanded down by somebody at the factory. However, on the factory floor, there just isn't enough time to refine these sanding marks down to a perfect finish. That's where a polishing process done by somebody who knows what they're doing comes into play. Compounding these dust nibs out is a slow process. This is sped up 8 times, so it really does take time to go inch by inch on this car and remove these blemishes. Once I believe I've removed the blemishes, I'll wipe down the paint and check to make sure that all the scratches have been removed from the compounding process. So not only can the paint get scratched up, but headlights and taillights can also get scratched up as well. So I'm going to go ahead and polish these and try to remove as many of the deep scratches as I can. So at this point, I have finished compounding the paint. Now, when you compound paint, you do a really good job of removing scratches and deeper swirls. However, it does leave a light hazing left over. You could think of it as like a low grit sandpaper. It does a great job at digging through the paint, but it won't finish down that well. So at this point, I move on to polish. As you can see, I'm working a little bit bigger section, a little bit quicker. And this will really pull out all that hazing and give it a perfect gloss and shine. Now I wipe off the polish and inspect the paint with a light to ensure a perfect finish. So the same process is going to happen here, except I'm going to use a smaller machine so that way I can be sure that I'm getting into all the intricate details of the car. Polishing may seem like a fairly simple process, but there really is a lot that goes into it. I could easily make a bunch of videos just explaining how to polish a car. This is the final step before we ceramic coat a car, and there's a lot of variables that can go into the quality of somebody's polishing work. The pad or polish that they're using, the speed at which they polish, the machine type that they're using can all factor into the quality of the polishing job. I polish a lot of cars, and there have been times where customers were actually reluctant to have their car polished because of a previous bad experience. Body shops will often polish your car once they finish painting, and the person behind the machine likely does not know what they're doing, and this can lead to some really bad finish quality, which kind of defeats the purpose in even polishing the car in the first place. So in a nutshell, polishing can really transform the look of your car even if it is brand new. Just be sure that whoever you have do the work knows what they're doing. Switching gears, let's polish this gloss black trim. So this is really common. This will get scratched up super quickly. Even during hand washes, you need to be super careful with this gloss black trim. So we're going to polish this up. This is a little bit different than the paint because it's significantly softer. So let me show you the steps that we take. First step is going to be to use a yellow polishing pad and polish to remove the deeper scratches on the gloss black trim. This pad and polish combo is going to be too aggressive to refine down to a perfect finish, so we're just using this to remove the bulk of the swirls. So as you can see, just like when you compound paint, there's this hazing left over on the A-pillar that we're going to need to remove with an even more delicate polishing process. So now that I know that this pad and polish combo does a good job for removing the swirls, I'm going to use a smaller machine on the mirrors here to remove the scratches from the gloss black trim on the mirrors. I'm going to do the same thing on these carbon fiber mirror caps. This is a super slow process. This is sped up 8 times and it's still going by super slow. Polishing gloss black trim is definitely super time consuming. So now that we've finished removing the swirls, I'm going to move to a white polishing pad and a jeweling polish. So this is the least aggressive polishing method that I use. And this will end up finishing this gloss black trim down to a perfect finish. Alright, so unfortunately I didn't get the spotlight up high enough and I wasn't able to show the camera the finishing results here. You're just going to have to take my word that I got it polished out. I think I gave it one more hit of the white polishing pad just to get it down a little bit better. I wasn't 100% satisfied with the results here. So now that the paint and gloss black trim are finished being polished, it's time to remove all of this tape. This part is always so satisfying because after all this work, I'm now able to kind of step back and take a look at what the car looks like and its beauty. It hasn't been ceramic coated yet, obviously, but the car looks really nice at this point. So for some reason, I didn't get any footage of me wiping the car down with Gtechniq panel wipe, but this is a super crucial part. It makes the coating way easier to apply when the paint is completely stripped, and you definitely do not want any polish left over on the paint whenever you're applying the coating. It will haze up and it will not coat properly. So that's a really important step. Always make sure that you wipe down the car with panel wipe 2 times before you apply a coating. Okay, so now that we're past the preparation process, I want to explain how I do my ceramic coatings. So I use Gtechniq coatings. So the first layer that I'm going to use is Gtechniq Crystal Serum Light on this car. I apply 1 layer of that to the paint, door jambs, and even this matte black trim here. This is going to be our ultra durable 3 to 5 year base coating. However, there's a second coating that we can apply on top of this layer in order to improve the hydrophobic properties as well as protection properties of the ceramic coating. This coating is known as Gtechniq EXO V4 and it's designed to work either as a standalone coating, a top coat to Crystal Serum Light, or a top coat to Crystal Serum Ultra. So this coating is kind of the pretty coat. It's going to add a little bit more gloss, add some protection to the base layer, and then it's also going to make it easier to wash, even more so than the base coat would. So here I am applying EXO V4 to the roof the day after I applied Gtechniq CSL. You can see I'm working in a lot bigger of a section, and I also give it some time to cure. This coating cures a little bit slower. And then I'm gonna wipe it down with 3 towels because this stuff does kind of smear around. And so 3 towels is gonna be the best way to get it completely removed. Otherwise, you're gonna have some streaking and smearing. Now I'm applying EXO to the front bumper. So pretty much everything that I coated with CSL is also gonna get EXO except for the matte black trim. So matte black, anything does not do great with this EXO V4. It will add a fair bit of gloss. It's not gonna kill it if you put it on, but it's just, if you wanna keep as much of that matte color as possible, I really wouldn't recommend putting EXO on top. So once I finish applying the first layer of EXO V4 on the car, I can go around right after and apply the second layer. It's really best to apply 2 layers of this coating because if you miss any spot, it will be apparent due to the gloss difference. So make sure you don't miss a spot and really should apply it twice just to get the most protection. And one last thing before I forget. Gtechniq Crystal Serum Light and Crystal Serum Ultra are not advertised as working on black plastic trim. They don't say it doesn't work, but they don't say it does work. However, I'd highly recommend trying it out because this stuff works really, really well on black trim like this. And it's super easy to apply and remove. It won't last as long, but I've seen it last up to a year, 2 years on this trim. Okay, and now that we've finished coating the paint, it is time to clean and coat the glass. Definitely not going to use the same coating that we use on the paint. On this glass, I'm using Wolf's Nano Glass Sealant. This stuff works really well. Probably have to apply it every 3 to 4 months, depending upon how much you use your wipers. But this stuff works really well, and if you're going to coat your paint, you got to coat the glass. So obviously, going to coat all of the glass, but I'm also going to coat these windshield wipers. You do this to prevent any jittering from occurring. However, with this coating, windshield wiper jittering has never been an issue. Some cheaper glass coatings you may be able to find may cause windshield wiper jittering whenever you're using them in the rain. So now I'm cleaning the windows just like I normally would, applying some glass cleaner and wiping it clean. And then I'm going to apply one more layer of the glass sealant, repeat the process, clean the windows off, and then you're good to go. All right, and after a bunch of work, we're finally finished with the ceramic coating on the Supra. So while I wrap up this video, I'm going to play some footage of me washing the car 6 months after I applied the coatings. You can see the coating's still going strong. You're going to get at least 3 to 5 years out of this coating, no problem. There were definitely a couple steps that I didn't record when I was making this video, but this video wasn't really intended to be a how-to, but instead it was more of a walkthrough of my thought process when ceramic coating a brand new car. As you saw, there were definitely some challenges that I had to face when I was ceramic coating this car. Nothing that's not normal, but there's more to ceramic coating a brand new car than just slapping a coating on. So hopefully this video was able to teach you guys that. So obviously a lot of time and energy went into doing this to the car, and some might ask why? Why would I spend all this time, or why would a customer spend all this money doing this to their car? And well, one of the biggest reasons, at least for me, is the fact that the car is super easy to clean. You can see here I'm washing the car down, and not recorded in this video, I also ceramic coated the wheels. And the car is much, much easier to wash. You could see just rinsing it, you really don't have to work much. Just lightly spraying it will completely remove any of the foam that's still on the surface. So that's a big reason to ceramic coating a car just in itself. Obviously, a ceramic coating is going to give you shine and great looks, which is another reason to get it coated. And then you're going to get better protection that's going to last a lot longer. So as I mentioned, 3 to 5 years is pretty typical for this ceramic coating. Where a wax you could expect maybe 3 to 5 months. Continuing with this easy to wash theme, I wanted to show you something that I think is really cool. Whenever I wash a coated car, I don't dry it with a towel, but instead I use a forced air blower. In this case, I'm using the Master Blaster to blow the water off the car. So the drying process is going to be one of the most harmful processes to the paint. This is where you're going to get the most swirls. And so when you use an air blower like this, you're able to minimize the swirls a lot. And you wouldn't typically be able to do this on a waxed car unless it was just freshly waxed. So this ceramic coating allows you to blow the water off the car instead of using an aggressive towel. So as you might be able to tell, when somebody asks why to ceramic coat a car, it's really hard to give them just a few reasons why. It's really the accumulation of all these reasons that makes a ceramic coating so cool and so worth it in my eyes. So wrapping up this video, I figured I'd throw in a couple shots of what the car looks like after it's been coated. Now this is 6 months after it's been coated, but in this evening light, it just looks absolutely great. Super nice shine and just a great glow from the paint that you won't be able to get for this long with just a wax. Now I wish I had the camera skills to pick up the shine that this car gives off. Now it's a lighter color red, so it's not going to be super reflective in terms of shadows. I mean, obviously there are still great shadows here, but I can get black cars that are ceramic coated to shine way more than that to where it almost looks like a mirror. But the way the colors just reflect off of this paint is incredible. As I was washing the car, there was an airplane overhead and I could make it out just perfectly from this hood. So yeah, there's really not much more to say. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please drop a like. I really appreciate it. And if you have any questions whatsoever, please leave them in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching. Peace.